Sit! Hut!
Welcome to the Dynasty Nerds Fantasy Football Podcast, where we discuss Dynasty strategy, rankings, and all things NFL. So get ready to geek out on fantasy football with your host, Rich Dotson.
And welcome to the Dynasty Nerds Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm Rich Dotson. He's Matthew O'Hara.
Hey.
He's Garret Price.
Hey, I'm back.
I do like how you call him Gareth.
I can call him Gareth there. I want to see if anyone noticed.
You know, it's funny. A friend of mine, when I lived in Oklahoma City, like the guy that I hung out with the most, his dentist was named Gareth. And he always told me how cool he was. And I was like, nah, he sounds like a jerk. I don't like him.
Gareth.
He became my enemy. We've never actually met. But
No, but he's your enemy.
But he was my enemy.
Ah, good to know that, Gareth. Sounds like me trying to say Garrett, really.
Yeah, it really just kind of does.
Really just rolls off the list with my tongue. Tougher and succotash, boys. So we're back as we get ready to enter week 9. The season's creeping along. Trades are beginning to come. You know, we say this every week. You know, trades, because the definition of your team, how that team looks, the total outlook of that team changes on a weekly basis. Why? Because we lose players on a weekly basis. And this week was like every other week.
It was no different.
Somebody popped their Achilles.
Does it seem like to you guys it's becoming more of a thing?
It's got to be a turf thing.
There was another player this week
Gotta
that it wasn't a fantasy relevant player, but it was like an offensive lineman or something that tore his as well.
Yeah, same week. It was the defensive lineman for the Jets, I think.
Maybe.
I feel like it's got to be a turf thing.
I would think it's a turf thing too.
It seems like it's happening much more frequently.
Minnesota, turf. New York, turf. I don't see anybody in Cleveland popping Achilles. Natural grass.
To be fair, J.K. Dobbins was on natural grass too.
Yeah, but he's just injury prone.
Unfortunately, we'll never know what could have been.
I mean, dude, Aaron Rodgers will be back next week, so
he really might.
I saw somebody put a tweet out today. I don't know if it was PFF. They're like, they announced that Kirk Cousins tore his Achilles, and somebody tweeted out saying, Kirk Cousins already had a schedule
on his rehab for Achilles.
Yeah, but even Rodgers said, he's like, yeah, because he was walking out the crotch, thought he had a schedule, and then he's like, yeah, you know what? I'm not.
Yep.
I'm not. This is going to take a while.
This isn't going as well as I thought.
Yeah, so we got some injuries to talk about. We got some good questions to bring up here. Some players popped off. If you listen to our buy and sell episode a couple weeks ago, there's some pretty good buys on there. They're actually starting to hit right now. We'll talk about some of those players. We'll talk about some injuries. In the next Nerd Herd show, we'll do some little likely-o-meter, and we'll do Pick Your Poison as well for the Nerd Herd. Love those Nerd Herd shows. Love those games. I love the information we get out of Dynasty games that we play in those Nerd Herd shows, and they're fun. If you want to join Nerd Herd, all you got to do is go to dynastynerds.com and sign up and join the Nerd Herd for a price of a cup of coffee. You could get the film room, the Dynasty GM, a bonus podcast, the Nerd Score, the film room, the app. Right now, the Dynasty GM is live in your Sleeper app. If you go down the right-hand corner in the mini, we are live. So if you play Dynasty Fantasy Football or any kind of fantasy football on Sleeper, go ahead and go down that little mini. Check out Dynasty Nerds. We got a little teaser on there. It is limited if you're not a Nerd Herd member, so you can't get full access because we got to tease you to buy us that cup of coffee once a month. But if you are a Nerd Herd member, you get full access. And it's nice because you can actually push trades through the app, which is awesome.
So cool.
You know what I really like on there that I never noticed that I would like, and it seemed like a simple thing? We have an inbox in there. And all your trades from all your leagues are in one spot.
I did see that in there versus the normal app. It's
so
cool.
nice. We're the only app that has that. You can push trades to that. So check it out. It's absolutely free to use on a limited basis. But if you want to join the Nerd Herd and say you're like, you know what, guys, I love you guys, but a whole cup of coffee for every day, once a month for a year. I mean, it's crazy to sound like how many hours of information you get and how many tools you get. Saying all you have to do is buy us one cup of coffee once a month,
just once a month.
Which is with the bonus podcast is like you're coming to have a cup of coffee with us,
right? And
sit down for 4 to 5 hours, listen to us talk Dynasty, and all you do is buy us one cup of coffee. I think it's a fair trade in return. But if you want to try it out, why don't you go over and check out our boys over at UnderDog Fantasy. They have a lot going on over right now. Right now, they have that brand new sign-up offer, that mystery pick'em special we've been talking about, and that $500 deposit match. It's been absolutely terrific. If you use the promo code NERDS, you get the $500 deposit match if you deposit $500. You get the mystery pick'em special, which is they're going to give you that pick'em. It'd be mystery. It's free.
Boom.
All you got to do is deposit $10. Go on there, do a little play action until the season over. Then you get in some best ball leagues, which is my favorite thing to do once they open those bad boys up all the way to the year. That's all you have to do. Get on UnderDog, check them out, make some picks, play some games, and if you love it, we're going to give you a free year membership if you deposit $10 using that promo code NERDS. If you're already a Nerds member, we will send you a free shirt. You'll get a thing about that. If you haven't gotten your shirt yet, I've been very busy. I sent out the shirts.
Rich he'll get on it.
I will get them. I promise.
And I stole the stickers.
Yeah. And you stole the stickers. So those are back. So check us out, UnderDog Fantasy, UnderdogFantasy.com. Check your app store. Use that promo code NERDS. And let's get in some injuries, shall we?
Let's do it.
What's the biggest one?
Yeah, Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins with the Achilles injury. He's going to be out for the season. We know that that's not good news. Fortunately for him, it's like a non-mobile quarterback. So he should be roughly the same guy once he
put a boot on and get out there. Come on.
Like, he's going to basically be the same guy. What this really has, the conversation around this is around this Vikings offense. What is this going to do to this Vikings offense this year? And maybe the biggest question of all, does Justin Jefferson even come back at this point? Without Kirk Cousins, is the season kind of lost? Do they look to go trade? So there's a few different things that could happen between then and now. So what are your guys' thoughts around this offense?
Well, TJ Hawkinson is going to eat. As Jaren Hall will probably be the likely quarterback, the quarterback that they drafted here. Jaren Hall will be the quarterback going forward unless they bring a guy like, Carson Wentz, which just shows you how bad Carson Wentz is. All these quarterbacks are dropping like flies, and this guy's still at home playing pinochle with his grandma.
No, there was some Jameis Winston scuttlebutt today that he might be on the move to Minnesota.
Well, I will believe it when I see it.
By the time this podcast comes out, it could have already happened.
If there's one guy that could salvage that offense from a fantasy perspective, because he's going to turn the ball over too much just in real life.
Yeah.
But from a fantasy perspective, Jameis Winston's going to sling it. So that's not terrible news for guys like Addison and Jefferson and those guys.
I don't think they make a move. I think they ride with Jaren Hall, see what they have, and I think they're going to trade. If they were smart, I would. If I was Kwesi, I would trade Daniil Hunter and get him off the team as well. And I'm just go ahead and get the highest draft pick. They're already kind of out of it. They're not going anywhere.
They're 4-4 now.
Their running game's been an absolute bust.
3-5, I think.
Yeah, they're lower than that. They have a losing record.
I'm gonna check. I'm gonna check you guys' on.
Go ahead, check us out. And
sure they're 3-5.
so for me, that's what I'm doing. I'm just trying to get my team better, and that's gonna be a higher draft pick. I feel like the season's lost. If you bring a guy like Jameis Winston in, it's not saving it.
4-4.
Are they really?
Yes, they are.
For now, about to be 4-5.
That's right.
Going forward, I mean, the running game's been abysmal. Mm-hmm. They scored their first rushing touchdown all year last year.
They brought in Cam Akers. It's looked a little bit better.
He's looked a little better, but it's not hard when you're competing with Alexander
It's like being
Madison.
the skinniest kid at fat camp. Like, it's not a huge accomplishment.
It's a good accomplishment. It's a good comp. I like that. Maybe I would share corn on the cob with you. I mean, may they bring a quarterback. May they want to go for it.
Draw the line somewhere, Rich.
For me, though, I mean, what's like in the NFC? I mean, the Seahawks just made another big move today and traded for Leonard Williams because we are recording this on a Monday because tomorrow's Halloween, which is Tuesday, and we have little kids. So we're recording this on a Monday, so you're getting this podcast a day early. But, I mean, who are they going to beat in the NFC? Right? If they bring, no matter what quarterback they bring in. They're not beating the 49ers. They're not, at this rate, anybody can beat the 49ers. They're not beating the 49ers. They're not beating the Seahawks. They're not beating the Eagles. I don't know who else is.
They could beat the Falcons or the Saints. Get at least one win.
We'll see.
Telling me there's a chance.
So you're telling me there's a chance.
But, I mean, I don't look at this team as a contender with Justin Jefferson being out. They got TJ Hawkinson. Jordan Addison's looked absolutely terrific. KJ Osborne's played really well. But, I mean, I don't view this team as a contender. So, for me.
So, let me ask you this. Hold on. Before you move up, before you declare what you're going to declare here, what happens if the Lions go out there tonight and lose? And all of a sudden, it's a 5-3 and 4-4. And that's your record. You're not going to try to make a move there at the deadline to see if you can get a Jameis Winston for a 6th-round draft pick or something crazy?
Nope.
No? All right.
I wouldn't if it was me. I want the higher draft pick.
Yeah, but, I mean, they still got to put butts in seats.
Yeah.
They still got to – still a business. If they walk away thinking they actually have a chance, then maybe they go after Carson Wentz or Jameis Winston or – Taylor Heineke. Well, Taylor Heineke, he's got a job at the moment.
He's a starting quarterback, sir.
But somebody like that where Jacoby Brissett maybe.
Trey Lance?
Maybe. He's from Minnesota, isn't he?
I have no idea.
I think he's originally from Minnesota.
Nobody wants Trey Lance, man. Give me a
The
break.
Cowboys do apparently. they actually
really,
gave
though?
stuff for him.
Do they really want him? It'd be well. Let's find. I guess we'll know tomorrow. That would have been a cool
It's
thing
a
about
short
doing
term,
tomorrow's
yeah.
show is we catch the trade deadline, but Halloween kids got to wrap those
Hey,
teeth.
man, it is what it is.
My son's like, I'm gonna get so much candy tomorrow. I'm like, how much? He's like, a pillowcase full. I'm like, you know how much candy that is? What? I'm like, that is like 10 pounds of candy. Like, you're not gonna get a
When I was a
pillowcase
kid, I
candy.
used to get a full pillowcase and then go home and dump it and go back out.
I used to get I told my son the most I ever got was like a 3/4 of a pillowcase.
Oh, jeez. You're slacking, man.
What are you talking? How much candy that is?
Yeah, I do.
Dear
It
God.
lasted me months and months and months.
Aware.
I still have some.
Here, hold my dentures. All right. Well, we'll find out tomorrow. Maybe we'll put some tweets out. I don't expect anything crazy to get out there. We'll see.
Yeah, the trade deadline overall, I don't think it's going to be as exciting as it was last year. Some of these teams that I tweeted about it earlier today, some of these teams that were potentially the big sellers like Denver and the Titans and teams like
good.
that, they got a W, and now all of a sudden it might be interesting.
Dude,
and
Denver
it's tough.
Denver cut weight in that defense with those guys that were paying money. Defense is playing way better. Offense is rolling. You mentioned
Titans.
Titans. They got Will Levis. He's the savior. I mean, he's got the best deep ball in the league right now. So,
Apparently.
I mean, with those kind of guns,
Three
I guess
of
it makes
the
sense.
4 longest touchdown completions on the year were from Will Levis in that
They're
league.
money. They're money. We're going to talk about Will Levis here soon. So, Kirk Cousins out. If you're in Superflex, you check the waiver wire. If he was not drafted, Jaron Hall will be the likely starter going into this week. Even if they make a trade, nobody's coming. Well, Baker did it in 2 days.
Baker did it.
That was a weird way to say Jameis Winston's name, but yeah. Right.
We'll find out. Who else got hurt?
Matthew Stafford, man, hit his thumb on somebody's face mask / helmet area.
Like twice in a row he did.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
he did
right.
it, and I was like, oh, he did something. They did it right again. He's
Did
there
it
like holding it.
again.
So it sounds like it's a thumb sprain, right? So this must be like something similar to what happened to what's his name up in Chicago?
Justin Fields.
Justin Fields. Thank you.
Yeah, but it doesn't seem like as.
I don't think it's
Bad.
as bad, right? But it is going to come down to a grip strain. I think.
I've
So-
heard
so real
conflicting
similar.
reports on it. I've heard some people say, I think he's going to play this week. I've heard other people say, don't rule out the IR. Like, I've heard all over. So we'll have to wait and see once practice rolls around, get more from the team on this. They do have a week 10 bye for what it's worth. So if they're feeling a little more cautious, it might be worth it to sit in
1
week
week.
9. Then you get 2 weeks out of it. And
Oh, you don't want to ruin their playoff hopes?
telling me there's a chance.
I had Matt Stafford starting in my in our oldest dynasty league, and my quarterbacks in that league are Matt Stafford, Daniel Jones, and Ryan Tannehill.
Oh,
And when he was looking,
But you know what? Your 2019 team was awesome.
it was when he was. I'm a playoff team in that league.
Wow.
So when he was holding his thumb. I paused. I rewind and paused it to get a good look. I was like, it looks okay to me.
looks like it's
Get back out there.
straight as an arrow.
You got 2 hands. Use the other one.
Immediately went to the other team that has 4 really good quarterbacks. Had a trade lined up and done for Deshaun Watson. It was done. And then he realized he just wanted a second for him. And like I got through in a couple backup running backs. And then he's like, wait, that's a 25 second. I was like, yeah, but I don't have a 24 second. And I was like, plus I'm all in this year. Like my team's gonna be really bad next year. It's all old. Everybody in my team has like an AARP or what's that called when you're old?
AARP.
Cards. Yeah.
AARP.
Yeah, they're old.
Thank you.
I was like, my 25 teams, I'm going to blow it up. It's going to be a way better pick. He's like, nah, I want a 24 pick. I'm like, oh, okay. He's like, I'm just going to hold on to him. But then, by the glory of the football Jesuses, Daniel Jones was cleared today, so I'm good to go.
Yep.
I don't have to be as desperate as I wanted to be.
Back in the driver's
There
seat.
you
Right
go.
back in the driver's seat. So Matt Stafford out. They picked up off Wolford off the practice squad of the Bucks. So who knows what's going on in there? But they have Cooper Kupp who's playing just okay, and they got Puka Nacua who's playing just okay these last couple weeks. The running backs, I don't know who those guys are, but they're playing not that too good.
They're not playing very well. You just don't want to be starting any of these guys right now.
Yeah,
They went from an offense where you're like, start Tutu Atwell, start Puka Nacua, start Kyron Williams, start everybody. And now it's like, just don't start anyone.
Tutu might have the best game this week out of all those guys, though.
He did get a tutty.
He did have a little touchdown. He looked fast. So, anyways,
He usually does.
Fast on
he's
line.
hurt because all these quarterbacks are hurt. Who? We have another quarterback this
We
year?
have another quarterback.
Pickett.
Yeah, Kenny Pickett here with the rib injury.
Yeah.
And
just want to roll Tyrod Taylor right into this one as well. He's not even on the list.
I didn't even put him on here because I was like,
Ribs.
it's Tyrod Taylor
Poor
or
Tyrod.
Tyrod or
Taylor.
whatever.
That dude can't. All he can do is catch breaks.
Oh my gosh.
Dude, got doctor stabbed him in the lungs. It's like a horror movie with this guy.
I mean, I'm wondering if he got a punctured lung. He had to stay overnight at the
first thing I thought of.
Yeah.
I was like, dude, first his
Not
doctor
again.
punctures his lung, and then his own ribs puncture his lung.
Jeez, oh man.
This guy's like naturally trying to deflate. Unbelievable.
But with Kenny Pickett, he's had a interesting season so far.
Is that what you call Turdy Fergie?
Yeah.
He's looking
Although
like
I got a text this week from a mutual friend of ours that she was like, Rich said you put the Kenny Pickett question on the doc last week. How dare you?
She texted me something too. She's like, Alexa, she's like, how dare you? I was like, dude, Garrett did that.
And I was like, you're lucky I wasn't on the show because I would have said he's getting replaced.
He's still, I mean, we didn't say he would get replaced, but I mean, he's been not great.
He has been not good.
Oh, she made some, she like comped him like his stats to like Josh Allen. I was like,
In the fourth quarter, I was like, yeah, what about the other 3 quarters? She's
I was like, trade me. Trade me.
I'm trying to find him 28th overall in our league.
Yeah, no
he's,
bueno.
He's bad.
Speaking of ribs, though, do you like your ribs wet or dry?
I am more of a wet ribs guy. I'll eat a good dry rub. Don't get me wrong, but if I have my choice, it's wet.
I'm dry. I'm a dry rub.
As long as they are falling off the bone deliciously, you know what I mean? Just like
Right.
I'm good either way.
I mean, yeah, both. To be fair, both are good.
I will eat both.
But
What's
but
your
if,
preference?
But if they're not, then I need them wet. You know what I mean? That was my point.
I like a little side cup of the sauce.
Okay.
And then with the dry rub, and then I'm gonna occasionally do a little dip.
Yeah.
Like just a tip. Just a tip. Not getting anybody pregnant.
If they're not falling off, then I need some sauce.
Which is funny because
lube up my esophagus a little bit.
Apparently the competition way now is not fall off the bone.
Oh, I've heard that for my whole life. It's
Yeah.
not supposed to have the
And I was like, well, I don't want competition ribs then.
Yeah,
I want them to
either.
fall off.
Yeah, I want them to
They
fall off.
taste
the bone.
better that way.
Michael Simon always said, he's from Cleveland, big chef from Cleveland. He always said, he's like, your ribs should never just fall off the bone. That means they're overcooked. And I was like, well, I like overcooked ribs.
Yeah,
I like them
they're
falling off.
better that way.
Yeah. Michael Simon makes really good pig ears, by the way.
Michael
Pig ears?
Simon makes
Yeah.
pretty good everything.
I've never even heard of eating a pig's ear.
You never ate pig ear before?
No. And I grew up in the country. You'd think we'd just do that for fun, but no, I've never heard of it.
You marry pigs out there. So what he does, yeah, he slices them real thin. Like, and then he fries them. Oh, and so it's all fatty and chewy. Oh, it's so good. My favorite thing is Restaurant Mabel's in downtown Cleveland.
Interesting. Yeah, I've
Big
never had
ears.
it.
When I get there, I get real excited. But you're right. All the meats are good.
Yeah.
So, well, speaking of ribs, Kenny Pickett and
Tyrod
Taylor.
How do you say his name?
Tyrod.
Tyrod.
Did I say it right? I nailed it.
Next.
So we don't want to talk about it at all though?
Kenny Pickett? I mean,
He's going to be back soon.
Does this affect their offense at all?
no.
All right.
I mean,
it's going to suck either way.
Mitchell. Yeah.
Okay.
Mitchell Trubisky is
Equally sucky.
on par. Backup.
Shout out Menor Cardinal. Hometown boy right there.
That's right. Drake London, groin injury. He's
You
going
like
to
your
be
groin wet or dry?
Garrett was not ready for that
I
question.
wasn't ready for that one. I wasn't prepared.
There's only one answer.
There's only
Go on.
one answer.
Week to week with a groin injury. We don't expect anything long term.
Who is this?
Drake London.
Oh, that's right.
Wide receiver.
All right. Yep.
Wide receptor.
He had a great catch this week.
He did, and then he got hurt.
Yeah.
Was it who threw him the ball?
I think that was Ritter still.
Okay.
God, Ritter sucks. Always thought he sucks. Izzy Alcafast was like, I believe in Ritter this year. I'm like, good for you. I don't
Congrats.
think he's very accurate.
So obviously,
for that.
while we're talking about it, you want to talk about it, or is that somewhere else on this?
Taylor Heineke,
Yeah,
he looked like that offense started moving.
It did look a little bit better with him, and we could touch on him here for sure. I don't know that this is a drastic change, but I do think it's a slight tick up for all their pass catchers.
Yeah.
Really.
I think it's more than a tick. I think he went from 10 to midnight.
I mean,
That's a slight tick.
that's,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's
10
a
to
couple
midnight.
hours. It's about 120 minutes.
I mean, if you're
Maybe 6 to midnight. That's
6
a
to
big tick
midnight,
up.
which is your normal.
Oh no, that's no.
No. Okay.
But you still got to midnight, which is impressive.
Oh, okay. It's like
What about 6 to 8?
You know what? Actually, that's from like 4 to 6. Like you're still
How
down.
did you get 4?
Because you're still
4 sounds painful.
Because now, like, you're just
6.
maybe okay. How about 5 to 7? Like you're almost introverted. Like it's real cold. Like it's real cold.
All right.
Like real cold. Is that even possible to go introvert?
I don't know.
I wouldn't know. I wouldn't know.
I don't know.
I mean, I'm sure some people would know.
I'm sure.
I don't think it would.
I'm sure it's possible.
What are we talking about?
Drake London?
He's got a groin injury.
But we Taylor Heineke, we think it's a little bit better, basically, is where we're at.
Yeah, no, I mean, and it sounded like Arthur Smith was going to be non-committal until, I think, Wednesday or something, right? He's like, I'll let you know Wednesday who's starting.
Which means Heineke 100%.
Yeah.
It's always the case.
It definitely.
I mean, dude, Heineke came in, moved the ball consistently downfield, was putting the ball where it needed to be. Outside the hashes, down the 20, like his deep ball looks so much better than Ritter's. Like the whole offense just looks so much cleaner with Heineke out there. Right. And we've seen Heineke come in and be that spot starter. And like that's always the definition of a really good backup, right? A guy comes in and all of a sudden the offense looks different. Because it's not out there. Is Heineke a long-term solution? No, but I don't think neither
He's
is
good
Ritter.
for 2 to 3 weeks, and then it's going to look not that much different from Ritter once teams scout for him and that kind of stuff. But
you get into week 8, the offense has been terrible all year long.
Yeah.
You know you don't have the answer here. You might as well switch it up. The worst thing you do is keep losing. This is a team that's like they're just a quarterback away.
And that's the bummer is, and I knew it wasn't going to happen, but I so badly wanted the Falcons to trade for Kirk Cousins. I think that team would be so good with a quarterback of his caliber, but obviously they're not going to.
That'd be like
now.
a good quarterback.
He's
of
a
any
free
caliber.
agent, though, and now, who knows?
Telling me there's a chance.
Dude, if you took any kind of caliber, I mean, if you took a cap gun, that caliber of gun, it'd be better than what Desmond Ritter's offering. Cap.
It's no good.
No, I just enjoyed the smell.
Cap guns?
Yeah, of cap guns.
Yeah.
Either you shoot them.
Yeah. That was obscene.
That's what I used to
Is that
do.
what they're doing on first downs there?
Yes.
I was a cowboy, baby.
Darren Waller, hamstring injury. With this being a reoccurring issue, him being an old player.
Different hamstring than before.
Right.
Really?
Right.
Yeah.
Oh.
So it was.
So not Darren, give me a walker.
No, it was his left, I think, earlier. And now it's his right. Now it's the other one.
I'm sure he's injured all of them multiple times. Either way, it's looking like it could be a multi-week thing. It's not looking super.
No.
Probably not IR.
Hey,
but probably
with
not.
Daniel
back right
Jones coming back, maybe some people got a little frustrated. Check your waiver wire. You're in a shallow league, no Texas squad. Daniel Bellinger
Hey.
had some good showing at a rookie. It was a rookie that I liked his athleticism coming out and kind of showed well. It was like, oh, him, Greg Dulcich. We're like, hey, this is going to be a good crop. Then they signed Darren Waller and he disappeared.
Off the face of the earth.
Introvert.
He went full introvert.
It's so weird. I wonder if that's possible.
I don't want to think about
I'm
that.
going to be Googling some weird shit later. Next.
Do not check your search history.
Kendrick Bourne, ACL done for the season. Most people weren't starting him with any regularity, but he was a bye week.
He was
flex
a spot.
play.
Yeah, he was a spot play.
Yeah.
He's like
shot in
wide
the
receiver
dark.
28.
Yeah.
What do you mean? It's like you
But dude, were you playing him enough for him to be worth wide receiver 28 for you?
If
That's the tricky part. You probably started him twice, maybe.
It's similar to
Yeah.
trying to start Hunter Henry in your lineup. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like if he hits, it's going to be fantastic. If he doesn't, you're going to get a freaking goose egg and want to hurt yourself.
Well, he showed pretty well these last,
He did.
I think, 3 weeks straight. So, like, to the point where, like, I was in my high stakes league. I was in a high stakes redraft league, and I had Kendrick Bourne on my bench, and I was like, man, I feel good about Kendrick Bourne, like, these last couple of weeks. And I really thought about putting him over DeAndre Hopkins because I was concerned about the quarterback situation. I was like, I'm not going to do it. And then Kendrick Bourne came in, scored that touchdown right away, and I was like, God. I was looking at my son. I was like, I was so close to putting Kendrick Bourne in. I'm like, watch him have a big week. And then Hopkins immediately scored a touchdown right after. Like it's probably like 3 minutes after Bourne scored his touchdown. And I was like, oh, that's why I left Nuke in there.
I knew all along.
And then it was like boom nuke. So yeah, pretty good.
Pretty good. Last one. Nothing that I think is going to be overly concerning, but Travis Etienne did leave the game due to an ankle injury. Came back, had a big play in the passing game. So it's probably not something, but just something to monitor this week. See if it's bothering him at all.
Practice, if
Yeah.
he gets any limited type of stuff.
But with it being a low ankle, I'm not overly concerned.
No, most touches in the NFL, Travis Etienne.
Yeah, it's crazy.
He's been eating out there, and good for him. Probably outside of like, I mean, if you want to argue like Puka Nacua, You're going to be hard pressed to find a guy who had a larger ADP jump this year so far, 8 weeks in,
for sure,
than Travis Etienne. Top 5 Dynasty Fantasy Football running back in my eyes.
Touchdowns.
I've got Etienne in multiple leagues. I bought him for a first like a year ago in one league, and people keep trying to send offers to me in UDPL league, our Ultimate Dynasty Podcast league. My team's completely. I have no wide receivers in that league. 0. I think my number 1 wide receiver is Zay Jones. In that league.
That's the definition of having no wide receivers.
Yeah. That's why I said I'm not going to fib on here. And I have no running backs either, but I have Travis Etienne. People make out like, dude, people can make you offer the 2nd round pick. I'm like, get out of here. This is like a podcast league. Like, no wonder I don't listen to your guys' podcast. This is ridiculous.
Speaking of Travis Etienne trades, I actually did acquire him this week.
What'd you have to pay?
But this is a really interesting trade because it's a C2C league. So you have all these college players. My team's terrible in college, but good in the pros. The team I'm trading with is the opposite.
Sorry,
the one guy I have. This is where it gets interesting.
All right,
This is where it gets interesting. I have Marvin Harrison Jr.
Oh.
I have Marvin Harrison Jr. in this league. He really wanted him. And I said, you got to pay me a king's ransom to get him off my team. So I ended up dealing. He offered a king's ransom. I gave up him and Omarion Hampton, who's a college running back, decent player. I got back Travis Etienne, Kenneth Walker, and Drake London.
You got robbed.
Let's see. There was the number 1 receiver. Etienne. And your contender this year?
Yeah.
I like that trade.
No, it's fine.
Yeah.
I'm just joking.
No.
But like
two RB1s and a young upside.
I mean, if I was giving up like Jamar Chase, for example, or AJ Brown, one of those two. Yeah. Somebody offered me Travis Etienne, and I was a contender. I was somewhat shallow at running back. They offered me Kenneth Walker, Etienne, and Drake London. Like I would do that trade. Cause I'm still a London fan. Like
right.
I still like his upside.
Well, and then here, I don't even though I think he has the Jamar Chase level ceiling, obviously, I'm not getting the Jamar Chase production because he's on my college team, not on my pro team.
Yeah.
So I'm not getting any of that too. So that made it even easier.
Nice
to be able to move on. So
all right, before we go on to our next topic here, I got to tell you about our friends at Sleeper. I mentioned earlier, you go down, check that the Dynasty Nerds mini in there. So if you've ever been curious about like if you download the Dynasty Nerds app, you can kind of still play around with it and see what we have to offer in a more grand scale. If you want that kind of like mini down in Sleeper, you get the trade analyzer, you get the trade calculator, or the league analyzer, the trade calculator, and the inbox, which I think is the best thing on there.
Really cool.
Just to have it, honestly, just go on there and just use that the inbox. See all your trades at once in Sleeper. Definitely if you're in a lot of leagues like I am. I had some trades in there I didn't even know that I still had open because Sleeper is the one app where your trades stay open forever. There's no time limit. So I was able to
you can put time limits on them if you want to. But
that's too technology advanced for me. So check that out on Sleeper. But right now, also on Sleeper, they're doing some really cool DFS stuff right now. They're offering the biggest payout. They're offering up to 100 times your entry that you can win. The highest payouts right now on that DFS market. So if you play DFS and that's your jam, you got to get into Sleeper action. One, there's a lot of newbies out there. So if you're good at it, you're probably just going to rake up 100 times your money. And all you got to do is go on there, choose 2 to 8 of your favorite players from pregame, live, in-game, or even across all the different sports, and just go ahead and see if you're going to win some cash. Only on Sleeper can you get that $100 payout. You can share it with your friends, get reward together. Use that promo code NERDS. They're going to match your deposit up to $100 on that first deposit. Of course, terms and conditions do apply, so see Sleeper's terms and conditions in terms of use for details. Currently operating in over 25 states. We really like our partnership with Sleeper that we have going on here. Feel privileged to have our app under the first Dynasty app out there.
Yep.
And also the prettiest.
Looks pretty.
So go ahead, check it out. Sleeper, use that promo code NERDS, play some DF, use that mini. We're one big happy family.
That's right. And part of our big happy family is FFPC. They launched in 2010, and they are the home to the largest high-stake Dynasty leagues. But you're like, Garrett, I can't draft a Dynasty team right now. We're in week 8, going into week 9. I can't draft a Dynasty team. That's okay. They've got some weekly challenges that you can take advantage of. There's no draft, no salary cap, no convoluted rules. I enjoyed listening to you try to say convoluted last week. 10-team, 30-team, and 100-team contest. Pick your players by Sunday's 1 p.m. start and let them ride. Results will be determined by the total points accumulated by each lineup entry. So you get $25 off a $35 entry or a $200 entry by using the promo code NERDS. Go to myffpc.com. Use that promo code NERDS, and you'll get $25 off.
It's so convoluted.
Nailed it.
Oh, thank you so much.
Man,
I'm
you're
a linguistic.
Sounds so smart.
I tell my son to enunciate.
You had to tell your son that?
Yeah, look at me. Calling a kettle black. So, Leonard Fournette signed with the Bills practice squad. How are we looking at this backfield now? Because I think we're only a matter of weeks away before Lombardi Lenny gets in there and starts causing some damage.
No, I think this is, they haven't seen what they wanted out of their big backs, right? They haven't been making much of an impact.
Dude, Latavius Murray's been Latavius Murray.
Yeah.
Been a 33-year-old running back.
Right. I mean, and what's Damian Harris? The same thing. He hasn't made much of an impact.
He hasn't even been on the field lately.
Right.
He's been banged up.
Yeah.
So I think this is just them looking for a guy for the stretch run. They know Lenny can do it. Do you guys think he's going to fill his traditional role and catch a bunch of passes here in this offense? And kind of, because that is the only worry in the back of my mind, right?
I mean, that's James Cook's role.
I know.
And I still didn't like James Cook, so we'll see how it plays out because Lenny's totally capable of doing it. I think they're looking for more of that, Latavius Murray's been like, I think, over inside the 5 in the line. They need that. They need that power back. Like I said, they got to protect Josh Allen a little bit more. They don't want to run as much, even though some fans were like, hey, use Josh as how you used to use him. So when he ran in for the end zone last week.
People are going nuts.
They're going nuts. But the Bills, I mean, they got to protect their quarterback. They can't keep doing that to him. We've talked about that. So
absolutely.
And even having a back that can do that even opens it up more for Josh Allen on the play action.
Sure. At least they're not all keying on him at that point.
Yeah, which you can't do that right now. I mean, it's been the death. It's been the death of Jordan Love, right? Like right now, because they can key on he can't throw the ball past 20 yards. He's terrible. So they can play everything up on tight. Same thing with Josh Allen. If you got James Cook back there, just go ahead and contain, and you're good.
Yeah, I mean, and Josh Allen is. I mean, he's a little bit banged up right now as well. He's got that little bit of a shoulder issue. He's going to fight through it, but you don't want him taking unnecessary hits. No. So you bring in a guy like this to kind of take some of that load off, I think. So this makes sense.
He's had almost a year off, so he's going to be pretty fresh.
Should be pretty fresh.
As long as he's not 245, everything should be fine.
I do remember that.
Hey, dude, Dawson Knox, wrist surgery. They've been looking for tight end.
Tight end 1.
So,
boom.
Sorry, Dalton Kincaid.
Slide him out there.
This has nothing to do with Cook. It has everything to do with Dalton Kincaid.
Kincaid's look good back.
Didn't they bring in a tight end as well, like another tight end?
I didn't see that. They might have.
Just for a workout.
They brought somebody in for a work. What's it for?
But then they signed playoff Lenny.
Oh, Adam Shaheen.
Yeah.
Oh, Shaheen.
They brought in Shaheen, but they signed playoff Lenny. So
Look,
I think this is all coming together, to be honest.
This end is tight.
Yes.
So I'm not overly concerned about James Cook, but I don't think you can add a running back to this offense and say it's going to have no effect on James Cook. It's going to affect James Cook. James Cook started off first 2 or 3 weeks. He was doing pretty well, but he's really nosedived since then. Hasn't been nearly as efficient as he was, and not making those big plays. So I do think they're going to use Leonard Fournette between the tackles, and he's going to get some receptions. I still think James Cook is going to be the third down back and still the main receiving back, but I just don't know that we're going to see as many handoffs as we had been seeing out of him. So I do think it's going to have some effect.
It's not fine. If he can get more involved in that third down, like pass catch and roll, maybe that will kind of, uptick it. Maybe he could become Tony Pollard of last year, right?
Sure.
And
so I mean, you're looking
that way.
Yeah, and you're looking at the numbers right now, and it's James Cook has 102 attempts, rushing attempts. Then it was Latavius Murray 40, and then Harris at 23. I think the 40 and the 23 takes a bigger hit. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. For sure.
So I mean, those are the ones that I think are going to really evaporate once he gets up and running. So
50-50
from a share standpoint, I could imagine it being a little bit closer to 50-50, but then hopefully most of the targets still going to James Cook's way.
Yeah. It's on Lenny too. I mean, if Lenny has to come in and actually execute the offense, otherwise it will still be the James Cook show. So it's no guarantee that James Cook's done here. I don't think it's any kind of but
he's not doing terrible. He's running back 16 right now in PPR, so he's still maintaining. I would expect him to stay around that area. I don't think he's going to go up by any means from this, and I don't think he's going to plummet out of the running back.
He'll still be running back 2, but
yeah, I don't think he's going to go out of the running back 2 realm. So,
all right, next.
Will Levis, you talked about him as a buy a couple weeks
501.
ago, and he
nice.
Was splitting reps in the beginning with Malik Willis,
and
then they were like, "Yeah, just kidding." It's the Will Levis show. It already announced as the starter for next week. He 4 touchdowns, looked great, and people are like, "Oh yeah, it's the Falcons." Falcons have a good defense.
Yeah.
Falcons are not a bad defense at all. So for him to do that in that game, I think it was huge. So what does this mean for him, and what does this mean for this offense moving forward?
The question I have, like, we've seen Malik Willis in game action. He can't throw the ball.
Mm-hmm.
What has Will Levis been showing in practice that he had to split this time and like earn this thing in a game? Like maybe he's one of those guys that doesn't practice well, but comes out in balls because he looked really good in the game.
He did not test super well. If you remember at the combine, we were talking about, all right, now he's going to unleash his like big arm, and it was like, oh, it looked okay. Like, but compared to the other guys, like, it wasn't that much better.
He unleashed it on Sunday.
He unleashed it on Sunday.
And it was a beaut. Yeah, I mean, for me, like, the reason I had him as one of my favorite buys a couple of weeks ago was because, they're going to play Malik Willis. Willis is terrible.
Yep.
Like, they invested the second pick in the second round on Will Levis. Like, this is the guy they invested in. This guy who Mel Kiper had at the top of his board amongst QBs. A lot of first-round talk, him going top 10. So a lot of people saw the upside there, and he does. I mean, he's got some mechanic stuff to work on. He's a little thick. He's a little stocky for being a quarterback, but I mean, that arm got it done. I mean, he always had that big arm, strong arm, could drive the ball, and every deep ball he made to DeAndre Hopkins was a beaut. Like, it was just great. All 50 yards in air, 61-yard touchdown. They're all great throws. So for me going forward, I mean, we talked about this a couple of weeks ago. I hope people listen. I got a couple of messages today saying, hey, real thank you for doing that show. I bought Will Levis for a second and a third. I got him for 2/3 and a fourth. But I saw somebody commenting on the YouTube channel saying, oh, nobody's getting him up for a third, which I never said. I said 2/3 or probably a second and a third to get him for. But I got a couple messages where everybody got him for like a second and a third and a couple thirds, and they were telling me thank you. And I was like, oh, just doing my duty here.
Doing my
Talking
job.
Dynasty. Because that's completely out the window. I mean, if you look at this as a sell high moment, what are you selling him for? A first? Like, say you drafted him like high in the second, you're gonna move up a little bit in the first? No, you're gonna stick in a super flex league. You're sticking with Will Levis.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
I ain't selling him. I mean, unless I'm getting a top 6 first round pick, I'm not selling him. And if you're like, oh, that's outrageous, okay, that's totally fine. Look at the QB market. We're about to talk about a QB next too, but look at the QB market right now. You got two old guys that were quarterback ones that both have torn Achilles. Everybody else has been mediocre at best. You have the top end guys, and that's it. Like, this quarterback market is not flush with super amount of talent. So you get a guy come in that has good draft capital on a team that needs a quarterback long term, who just came out and balled out. And listen, I'm not crowning Will Levis because he comes in one game and balls out in his first start ever when the defense doesn't even know how to play this guy. I'm not doing that. But his big arm looked fantastic. He was driving the ball well. It seems like he was making some pretty good reads. Then turned the ball over. He looked pretty good. So for me, if I have him, because I saw some people on Twitter saying this is a sell high moment, and I'm like, no way, man. This is something that I'm extremely grateful that I have in Superflex. I have in a league where I have Anthony Richardson. In that league where I drafted Pat Mahomes first, took Anthony Richardson second, I got Will Levis. So, like, just when I thought I was kind of out of it, I'm right back in it, baby. So for me, I think to sit here and pound the table saying, oh, this is what you have going forward, Will Levis, would be
premature.
It would be fake. It'd be phony, because quarterback's the hardest position to predict in the NFL. It's hardest position to predict in the draft. This is a team that we don't know how this team's going to go. Like, their running back won't probably be there next year in Derrick Henry. Their number one receiver that called these balls is 31 years old in DeAndre Hopkins.
I mean, they didn't extend Henry or anything like that, and
no.
he might not be there next week. I mean,
there's a chance he could be traded.
To be honest,
it seems less likely after this W.
Schefter said the odds of him getting traded now are almost down 0%, because for him to get traded, they probably would have to restructure his contract. All that had to be done today by 4 for anybody to be restructured. He was not. The only one that was
restructure was necessary to move him.
To trade him, yeah.
Okay.
So it had to be done today by 4 p.m. So anybody that needed restructure that was on that trade market had to be done today by 4. He was not done. So maybe somebody's willing to eat that 5. I highly doubt it for a running back for the rest of the season. I'm sure a lot of people live in the cap room. But maybe. Never say never.
Never know.
And the team come out and said they're going to move it. So, but right now, I mean, if Will Levis comes out and he looks solid, he's the quarterback here for the next year and a half, to say the least, and that's worth something in Superflex. And I would rather young quarterbacks are usually insulated in Superflex, where they're going to hold some kind of value, at least that first round value, for a long term. So even if I get a first now, I'd rather let him start the rest of the year, look solid.
Maybe get 2 firsts.
Maybe get better. Maybe possibly get 2 first, or don't take any first and hold on to a young quarterback that could be a top 16 quarterback asset. If you're a top 16 fantasy football quarterback, you're a top 50 overall scoring player. Top 50.
Yep.
That's better than all the wide receiver 2s, better than a lot of low-end wide receiver 1s, better than these running backs. These are assets. It's why we on this podcast stress so much in your rookie draft. If you have first-round pedigree, more so top 10 pedigree, that's how you go in your draft over all these guys. And even when we go away from that model on a once in a like not a once, but a once every so often prospect like a Bijan Robinson, even then we went away from our Excalibur, right? Like our sword in the stone. Nobody's pulling this out. You take the quarterbacks if they have top 10 draft capital over any other player. And we're like, Bijan's too special. And we messed it up because if you ask me today, I want CJ Stroud over Bijan Robinson. So with a guy like
that's
Will,
bold, my friend.
I was gonna say I'm not sure that I'm there.
Yeah, I don't think I am either.
I understand.
I would take
it.
CJ Stroud over Bijan Robinson. Yeah, 100%. He's look great. He's a young quarterback, just turned 22 years old. Yeah, I'll take him over Bijan Robinson.
I just don't know. I don't know that he has the ceiling to because of the lack of rushing. So that's the part where I would still probably take Bijan. I get it, but I don't think we're necessarily wrong for doing that.
I would take CJ Stroud. And that's fine. Not arguing that point. No. So for me, if I have my hands on Will Levis, I don't know how about you guys, but I'm not trading for him. I would see if anybody's looking to do that move and sell. I would give up. If I'm a contender, I'd give up a late first for Will Levis today. I'm gambling.
I do feel like it's a gamble. It was one game.
I'd be more apt to give up a late first if I was a rebuilder. Obviously, it wouldn't be my first. It would be someone else's first.
Yeah, see, I disagree there because if I'm a contender, like you're never in position to get young quarterbacks.
Right. So that's why
if you're a contender, the only way to get a young quarterback might be to give it up right now.
Sure. I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
I just, on a contender, I don't want to give up an asset for a risk. I want to give up an asset for a sure thing.
Yeah, see, these are the moves I like to make when I'm a contender because I never have a chance to get these young quarterbacks. I have no problem offering my late first for Will Levis and have no problem even if I whiff. Give me like a year and a half because I said, even if he just plays the rest of the year, I can get that first back. And if I'm a contender, it's a late first. I could probably move that first up a little bit, potentially. And I understand where people don't want to do that. And I understand it's risky because it's just one game.
It is a risk. Yep.
But, I mean, it's no more risky than a draft pick you're going to take next year at 111 or 112 or 110. It really is. I mean, we've done this exercise before. It's a true 50-50 hit.
It's not about the risk. It's more about
help me now.
What can help me now more, and that's more what it is about than the risk. Because I'm told the value. Totally good with doing it because there were leagues, super flex leagues. I used a late first this year to get Will Levis. So passing that first round pick a year back, that's fine by me.
And that's even saying get him for that. I'm saying if you can get him for that, and to say you do make that move, right? Like you give up a late first for Will Levis, your teams could sell it. All of a sudden you have an injury at running back. All of a sudden you have an injury at receiver. Mm-hmm. Well, if Will Levis plays next week like he did this week at all, like even somewhat close to that, now you can flip Will Levis instead of like getting that running back for a first that you wouldn't be able to get. The receiver you wouldn't get a first. Now all of a sudden you can get him just because you have Will Levis.
Sure.
Right?
Absolutely.
So he's a good trade chip all around.
Real quick with this, I do think this has, and this is like the least sexy move ever, but I do think you now have an opportunity to go out and get Ryan Tannehill super, super cheap. And I think he's still going to be starting somewhere next year. You look at a team we talked about a lot, Atlanta Falcons. Yeah. Mm-hmm. If they're not able to hit a home run on a quarterback,
I mean Arthur Smith, and
he's the perfect fit. He knows the system.
He does. He was a quarterback 8 and quarterback 7 in that system.
So I think he's a really good throw on Ryan Tannehill on top of it, or I'll give you a third or two or something like that because I think there's a decent chance he's still a starter next year.
That's a great call. You should go out there and trade for Tannehill because
don't leave him hanging now.
The odds of him being a Falcons quarterback next year is really high. Like really high.
Like it seems like the most obvious choice.
Yeah, they're not going to be in position. They made a move today for a defensive tackle from the Jets, I believe, or was it Jets? I think Jets or the Giants. They traded it.
I know Seattle did for the Giants.
Oh, off the Eagles. I think they traded for one.
Okay, maybe.
No,
I was driving up, so I probably
the Falcons did too. They swapped the 6th and 7th. I can't remember the defensive tackle's name. The Giants got Seahawks got Leonard Williams. They got second and fourth. That was a big time move.
The Falcons acquired somebody from the.
Okay, it was probably while I was driving up.
Well, they need tackle help, like you mentioned. Their defense is pretty good.
It is.
So
solid defense.
They lost Garrett.
Grady Jarrett.
Grady Jarrett. Yes, thank you.
ACL
I've
tear,
just
right?
put it all together.
Grady and Jarrett.
Grady and Jarrett and Garrett, and I'm staring
Yeah,
I'm staring right at Gareth over
Your
here.
wish is my command.
Well, I mean, the Falcons still have a legit chance to potentially make the playoffs.
Absolutely.
So
They're leading their division.
yeah, they won't be in position to draft a quarterback. So it would make a lot of sense for Tannehill to go here. That's the move. Go trade for Tannehill.
Yep.
That's a good call right there. That's why you listen to the Nerd Herd. That's why you have on the show.
That take started off so dry and then got wet.
Just how I like my
at
things.
the end.
All right, last thing we're going to talk about today. Let's get into it.
All right. I put it on the show sheet last week to talk about, are we sure that Brock Purdy is a top 15 quarterback? I'm bringing it back up today. We've had 3 straight weeks of poor performances. And something that I mentioned early on in the year is I was worried about Purdy, that he is exactly like Jimmy G, and they're going to get tired of some of the limitations, and it's going to be this vicious cycle of, well, now we got to get somebody more athletic with a bigger arm, and it's going to be this vicious cycle here. 3 weeks is still not long enough to say the guy's a bum or anything like that, because he's looked great in moments. But are we sure that we're confident enough to put him as a top 15 dynasty quarterback?
Well, you're clearly not, because you put it on the show.
I put it again because I am not sure.
You clearly have something to say, so go ahead and say it.
Well, I mean, I already started to say it.
Just did.
I did already start to say it, but here's the thing: a guy with that little draft capital, if he doesn't play perfectly, if this team falls short in the playoffs this year and does not go to a Super Bowl, they're absolutely going to be saying, we have nothing invested in this kid. Let's figure out who can we get Kirk Cousins now that he's a free agent? Can we? There are options for them, and I don't know that they are willing to be married to Brock Purdy. And you know what? Maybe they will be. Maybe they'll give him all this year, all next year. Who knows? But I'm still not confident, even with that I want to invest a top 15 quarterback asset into him when there are other players at the position like a Will Levis that could easily be passing him up at some point.
I'll take Will Levis.
Right?
Yeah, maybe that's close. That's
you know what I mean? But like, there's a lot of guys like that are right on the fringes, or that are maybe safer because of their contracts, how long they're going to be locked up with that team. So I am not sold that he is a top 15 dynasty asset.
I feel like he's right around 15 for me. I think there's a lot of, from a 49er standpoint, I think Kyle Shanahan and his salary here, making only $800,000 a year, there's a lot of upside there, because that means you could build a team around him.
Sure.
And you could pay the running back. You could pay all these receivers. You could pay the offensive line. You could pay the tight ends. You could pay that defensive line. You could pay the defensive backs by having a quarterback of his caliber. And it'd be interesting to see if that's how they want to build this model, right? Like the hashtag 2 to 3 year window on the running back, you do the hashtag 2 to 3 year window on the quarterback, or 5 year window on the quarterback. I think he's been just okay these last couple of weeks. I know he's thrown a couple of interceptions as of late, which has been bad. I want to see him come out of the bye. The 49ers have a bye this week. I want to see Kyle Shanahan take him in the bye, see if he can go ahead and correct what's going on and get Brock Purdy back on track.
Here's week 1, 30 points against the Steelers. Week 2, 30 points. Week 3, 30 points. Week 4, 35 points. 42 points in week 5. And then the Browns game, in which they incurred some injuries, right? Along the offensive line, along some skill position players. And since then, 17 points against the Browns, 17 points against the Vikings, 17 points against the Bengals. And this past weekend was a game he probably shouldn't have played in, right? I mean, they rushed him back from concussion.
Yep.
They brought him back. He didn't look great. In the week before, he was actually concussed during the game, right, at some point, and finished out the game. So I'm not going to freak out that he doesn't look good with some of his weapons banged up, and then the fact that he's been partially concussed in the past 2
Debo banged
weeks.
up, and his all-pro left tackle is out as well.
We agree he's not a top 10 asset, right?
Correct.
We agree on that?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's look at guys right after 10. Tell me who you would rather have. Would you rather have C.J. Stroud or Brock Purdy?
Stroud.
Okay.
Stroud.
Would you rather have Deshaun Watson or
Purdy.
Brock Purdy?
Purdy.
I knew you would say
I'm
that.
totally biased, but Purdy. And the dude actually scores points and doesn't look like incompetent on the field.
That's really tough for me right now. I would say Purdy.
Obviously, Kirk Cousins moves down a little bit, so we'll skip him for the moment. Jared Goff. Would you rather have Jared Goff or Kirk Cousins?
Goff.
Yeah.
Would you rather have Kyler Murray or Kirk Cousins? Or Kyler Murray or Brock Purdy?
I would take Kyler.
Listen, Kyler probably has a higher ceiling week to week, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They're very close, though.
For what it's worth, if you put those two guys,
I think I'd rather have Purdy just for the stable. He feels more stable to me.
I feel like at this point, the Cardinals are no longer, they're just like locked into Kyler Murray now for years because they can't get past that salary. So it's like, give me Curly. He's more guaranteed to be there.
Do you guys find it weird that they didn't start him this coming week even?
I don't, because of the next two games that they have are actually really hard games. I think they want to save him for like an easy game.
Did you guys not hear the news on the way up here?
What?
It's either Clayton Tune or
it is Clayton Tune.
Yeah, it's Clayton Tune.
Yeah.
And if Kyler can go, he will go. But
if
it'd be
Kyler
Tune.
can go, it's
Okay.
Yeah, Dobbs is third.
Yeah. Oh no, I know they demoted Dobbs. I just thought it was odd that.
So technically, like Kyler is kind of the backup, which is really weird because if Kyler is going to be the backup, he should just be the guy.
That's what I'm That's what I'm asking. Like this is just.
I think they're more just slow playing and make sure he's healthy. There's no point in rushing him at this point.
Definitely versus the Browns.
This all just
Myles Garrett.
That's the thing. This week they have the Browns, and then the next week they have like
Baltimore.
I was gonna say it's two good defensives in a row. I think they might.
Baltimore's number 1 ranked defense in the NFL right now.
Yeah.
Browns number 2.
So just roll.
Good luck.
Just why even roll Clayton Tune up?
Because he can't move.
But just keep with Josh
like hitting a
Dobbs.
statue.
at that
Just
point.
stay with Josh Dobbs.
Yeah.
And suck for the next 2 weeks.
They're holding. I actually like it. They're holding him accountable. Like, dude, you sucked. Like bad. Like you can't.
Last one:
Yeah.
Dak Prescott or Brock Purdy.
Dak.
Yeah.
Okay, so if all of those guys are ahead, Brock Purdy is not a top 15 dynasty quarterback for you guys. Then
I mean, he's right around 15. I said for me, around there.
I'm just
And
highlighting.
he's close to Dak. He's real close.
Yeah,
to Dak.
he's close to a lot of those guys. To be honest, with you.
Sure.
He comes back after the bye and scores 30 points. He's going right back.
But
up
I
to-
said he was above quite a few of those people.
yeah, he's top.
You
15.
put him ahead of Watson and Murray.
Yeah.
Would you take him ahead of any of those guys?
At this point, I think I'm taking all of those guys ahead of him.
Okay.
Ahead of Brock Purdy. So he's more like
Yeah.
17, 18 for me.
Okay.
Well, we're gonna end this because Monday Night Football's still on. It's currently 9:27 p.m. on Monday night. We're missing this game.
I thought you were giving me the score.
Nah, I'll get that. I can't look at my
9 to
phone.
27.
Working here. So let's get into our Nerd Herd show. We'll be back next week. Hopefully, all your players still have their Achilles next week. No guarantees.
No
cross
guarantees.
those fingers, cross those toes, and stay outroverted.
Adios.